Hey everyone, it's Mari. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I hope you're having an amazing day. I have a 12 by 12 scrapbooking project here for you for the Scrapbook Nerd online shop and blog. And I'm going to show you some of the products I'm going to be using, including this Maggie Holmes Flourish collection. I'm going to be using this Dina Wakley stencil called Wallpaper. And I'm going to be using a few Distress Oxide inks as well. I'm really going to be using mostly the Flourish collection. I'm going to be using the embellishments and so on from that Maggie Holmes gorgeous collection. So what you'll see me doing here is I'm going to place this stencil on my basil marshmallow cardstock here. And I'm going to eventually realize that I have to tape that down. I'm going to grab some of my purple tape and tape that down, and I'm going to start using some distress ink on it. I'm just taking a look at the photo that I've chosen here that I've printed in 4x3. And I am just kind of looking at where I want to place that photo and sorting out where I want to put the Distress Oxide ink through that stencil on the white cardstock. I'm going to be matching up the Distress Oxide ink with the pattern papers that I'm planning to use. So all of the pattern papers I'm using on this layout come from the 6x8 paper pad from the Flourish collection. And I had picked these patterns just because I really loved them. I thought that they were kind of, I don't know, I like the tones of yellow, but I was also thinking I might want to use the pinks. But I just love these to go along with this photograph that I'm going to be scrapping of Bailey and Brady and Brady's little nephew Ryder, who is going to be the ring bearer for their wedding. And it's just a cute little picture that was taken at Brady's family's home the day of Bailey's bridal shower there in his hometown. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my Tim Holtz stencil brush and I'm going to run this cracked pistachio Distress Oxide ink through the stencil. And you'll see me just, just rubbing that through. And I'm going to take some of the fossilized amber and blend it with that green of the pistachio, cracked pistachio, and blend those together in those different little areas. And then I'm also going to take some tattered rose Distress Oxide ink as well, because I just wanted to work a little bit of pink in here because quite a few of the embellishments from the collection have the pink tones in them. I wasn't 100% sure what I was going to use for paper or for embellishments at this point, and I just wanted to make sure that I had a little bit of those three different colors in there, and just to ensure that those all work in with the color palette I'll be using. Now that little stencil brush, I wasn't able to apply quite as heavy an amount of that tattered rose on there as I wanted, so I just got the little sponge applicator and put it on through that so that it's a little bit darker. I'm just going to put those little stencil brushes away and I'm going to start to work on the rest of the layout. Now this is a Carabelle Studio stamp, and the ladies over at Scrapbook Nerd do have some of those stamps in their shop. I don't know if they have this exact one, but they have some distressed stamps. I love using distressed stamps in my scrapbooking, whether it's a Tim Holtz stamp or Darkroom Door, or in this case this is Carabelle. I love these stamps. I just love using them to add some interest to the background. And I'm going to use some Wendy Vecchi archival ink. This one is in potting soil. And I love the archival ink because it is waterproof and it's just really great to work with when you're doing some mixed media. So I'm going to do some second generation stamping here. So you just saw me stamp off once onto a piece of scrap just so it's not so dark on my layout. And I'm going to do the same thing with another part of the stamp, just a different area. And I'm going to stamp over to the left side of the layout as well. I'll do that in a little bit here. First, I'm going to take the first piece of pattern paper and I'm going to start to mat my photo or put a layer behind the photo. This doesn't work exactly as a mat, but more as just a background piece here. And I just love this paper. It's so pretty. I love these little delicate white flowers, the green foliage, and then the yellow. I think it's just gorgeous. I'm a huge Maggie Holmes fan, so it's not too surprising how much I love the Flourish collection. It's really, really pretty. One of my favorite tools in my scrap room is this little Tim Holtz guillotine trimmer. I love it. It's my new favorite trimmer. It works so well. It's great for cropping your photos or cutting small bits of paper and so on. And it works for papers 8.5 by 11 or smaller. Now you can see I'm going to go back to that archival ink in the potting soil. I'm going to add it to the other side of that stamp and just add that little bit of ink. Once again, in second generation stamping, I'm going to stamp that on over to the side so that it's just going to poke out to the left of where the photograph is going to sit on the layout, and I really like how that looks. I'm going to pop some of those layers up a little bit, and you'll see me do that here as I continue the process. So I'm going to take some of the ephemera from the die cut pack, and I'm not going to cut any of these down. I could have, just because, you know, it does give you more, right, if you're not using the whole chunk. But you know what, I have this whole huge pack to use, and I'm just going to use the whole piece. I'm not going to trim anything down. I'm just going to layer these die cuts behind the photograph in that way. I'm not actually going to use another piece of pattern paper behind there. And the one little piece has a little sentiment on it. I think it says something about "you have my heart" or something like that. It's cute. And I'm just, you know, the focus for this layout is the relationship between these two kids and Ryder. He's just such a little sweetheart, and they just love him to bits. And he's going to be an important part of the wedding, that's for sure. So I wanted to scrap this and stick this layout into the kids' engagement album. I thought about using a frame over top of the photo, but I just didn't like how that looked. I thought it just kind of spoiled the emphasis on the photo a little bit. So I'm not going to use that. But I am going to use these gorgeous floral pieces. I kind of wish that this collection, the die cut pack, had more of these white florals with the green. I just think they're stunning, and I love those. So I'm going to use a couple pieces of those. Just taking a look at some of the die cuts and seeing what else I might like to use. You know, there's that really adorable little vellum birdie, and I know there's a cardstock stork as well or some kind of a crane or something, a long-legged bird of some type. I thought about using that on here as well, but I just didn't really think it went well with what I'm doing. So you can see there, I'm going to make an effort. It's really pretty. I'm going to use it at some point, but just not on this layout. So you can see I'm just kind of sorting through, looking through all of the die cuts and trying to decide what I want to use. Now I'm going to take my distressing tool here. I'm going to rough up the edges of this one piece of pattern paper that I'm going to use here. And I have already stuck together the other layers, and I'm going to pop that photo layer up on some craft foam and then lay that onto the pattern paper so that the photo just has a little bit more dimension. It'll just pop up off the layout a little bit more nicely that way. And I like doing that. I think it just makes the layout look a little bit more interesting and less flat. It's just an easy technique to create that effect. You can see I've layered a little doily behind there as well, just to add another little extra layer of interest in there. And that is going to be how my photo mat is going to go together. So I'm going to take some of the other products from the Flourish collection at this point and start embellishing other areas. And I'm going to create a little area over to the left side on the very left edge of the layout, just to create another little layer of interest over there. Just because the layout's there's a lot of white space. I love white space. It's actually some of my favorite layouts that I've designed have a lot of white space on them. And I really like using mixed media, and sometimes I'll go really crazy with mixed media and get a lot of it on there. But I also really just like a little bit of mixed media mixed in with a bunch of white space. I just kind of like that look. So you'll just see me adding a little bit of dimension to those die cut floral pieces with some dimensional adhesive here, some foam tape from 3M, from my gigantic 3M foam tape roll. And I'm really loving how that looks. I just think it's so clean and pretty. And of course, the focus is just that really cute photo of these three. I'm just making sure that I have that on there straight, because I am famous for getting things on my layouts crooked, I feel. I'm going to get going on that left side over there. Now I'm just going to take a really thin strip of that same yellow and white floral patterned paper. that's on behind my photo, and I'm going to just put a little strip of that there, and I'm going to tuck in just the little leftover strips that were at the top of the patterned paper from that little pattern paper pad. You know how at the top there's that little perforated bit that you can trim off? I save those because I feel like they're just really great for areas on your layouts like this, or if you're doing traveler's notebooks, things like that. I just really like how this looks, and I'm going to take some of those little bits and just really distress them and tuck them in on that edge there. So I really wanted to add some other detail over to that left side, and I am going to do that. I'm also going to do some stitching eventually with my sewing machine in gold thread, and you'll see me do that here in a bit as well. I thought I might use this sticker over there that says love, but I just didn't like how that looked. It was too heavy to me. That piece was just too big and chunky and heavy. So at least the horizontal aspect of it. So I decided not to use that. I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to just keep trying. I end up using one tiny little floral chipboard piece there. That's a white flower with some, or maybe a yellow flower with some foliage attached, and I use that from the chipboard sheet. And I think I might do that off camera here, so just watch for that when we have a little transition here to the next part. I'm looking at that cardstock sticker sheet right now, just looking at what I can use from there. I'm a fan of those cardstock sticker sheets. They're so much fun. There's always so many good little bits on those that are fun to put down. So now I'm going to use this leaf embellishment that came on that roll, and it's part of the collection. It's so pretty. I love it. And it's a little bit different of a gold tone. It's not really rose gold, but it's not necessarily the same as the gold foil and so on in the collection, but it works. It's fine. And I just decided I was going to use 2 little strands of that on the side just to add some of the gold over there. So now you can see the little chipboard yellow flower in the center that's going to be in the center of these 2 little pieces of this fabric embellishment here. This is so pretty. I love that, and just gives a little bit of pop of gold over to the side. And so I'm liking how that looks now, and I'm going to now bring that gold over to the center part of the layout by adding a couple of these little gold fabric leaves, which are so pretty. I love these. I'm just going to add those down with a little bit of liquid adhesive, and that's just some of my tacky glue. I'm going to add that in, and I am going to do some stitching over on the side, and I'm going to do some stitching really near the photograph on the side there once I add a couple of my little puffy sticker title pieces that I'm going to add. Gosh, I love those little phrase sticker sheets that come with the Maggie Holmes collections every time, and the labels and all that. Like, they're just so much fun, and they're just really neat little details that you can add into your layout. And you can see that I added one to a little black label or a phrase sticker to the right of the photo there. Now I'm going to take the little puffy XO in gold, and I'm going to put that on the side, and then I'm going to add the word love to the top, and then I'm going to sew through that XO on the side with my gold thread, and I'm going to do a couple stitches there, one straight and one zigzag, and then I'll do the same over to the left side using the same kind of stitches. I think I'm going to add a little label sticker over to the side there as well, and I'm just going to add the date to that with my pen. And like I said, I am going to stitch through that area as well. You know, the only thing that I have left to do to this layout, or the only thing that I'm going to do that's left, is to add some splatters of some tattered rose distress oxide ink. I just stamped that onto a piece of plastic and just added a little bit of water to it. And I'm going to pick it up with my paintbrush here and just splatter it on lightly. And it just adds a really faint, pretty light detail to those areas. And that is my layout for today. It's all finished. So make sure you hop over to the Scrapbook Nerd online shop and blog. Check out what's going on there. And I will leave the link in the description box below Also stick around for the close-up shots of the photograph or of the layout that I photographed and attached to the end of this video that are coming up right away. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I really, really appreciate it, and have an amazing day. And I'll see you another time on my channel. Bye-bye.